Hello, hello. Welcome back to Tech Ascent, the show where we dive into the trends, strategies, and success stories that are reshaping the tech landscape as we know it today. I'm your host, Oliver Clingain. I'm also the founder of Ascension, the premier business development partner within tech. Today, we're joined by another great guest, joined by Jared Siegal, the CEO and founder of Aditude. Jared, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. Would you mind kicking us off, telling the audience a little bit about yourself and what you guys do over at Aditude?
Sure. I'm the CEO and founder of Aditude. We consider ourselves an ad monetization operating system. So we help websites with all aspects of making money, from serving ads to tracking and understanding who their user audience is, to selling to advertisers and everything in between.
Very cool. And how long have you guys been around?
So I started the company in 2017 as like a side project and went full time in 2019. It was mostly just me for many years, but in 2021 is when we actually started. I started hiring employees and turning it into a real business.
Yeah, very cool. Sounds like you've had a pretty nice evolution over the last 8 years. And
Yep.
dating back to 2017, we could rewind the clock a little bit. What made you want to kick off the company?
Honestly, it was actually really good advice from my at the time manager of my then full time job. I was frankly like really bored with work and didn't have enough to do. And he said, "Why don't you just start consulting on the side?" And I thought he was joking at first. He's like, nah, most people do it. I said, okay. So I started reaching out to a few publishers' websites that I knew, and they were all for it. And I'm like, I guess this is actually something, that I could pursue.
Very cool. And I'm sure you're making it sound a little easier than it is. What was it like getting those first few clients?
Um, I'll, I'll, I'll pivot to maybe 2019 when I actually went full time. When I was doing it the first 2 years from 2017 to 2019, it was more of like a fun project because I had a full-time job. So there was really if I didn't sign any clients, it didn't really make a difference. Right.
Hmm.
2019, when I went full-time, I had to support myself. My wife was in medical school that I had to pay for. So I was like, okay, I got to make this work because I got a lot of bills. Um, and so I leaned heavily on my friends and colleagues in the space to basically do sales like naturally for me, right? So I was basically giving away services for free to my first few clients in exchange for them going to all of the publishers and the websites that they knew and were close with and convincing them to also work with me. So for every new client, one of my existing clients signed up, they got a month of services free. And some of my early clients like really took advantage of that, and
Hmm.
they got like up to a year free of service. And so luckily, like I didn't have to do any outbound sales for 4 or 5 years. But I made sure that I rewarded the people who helped take care of me, handsomely.
Yeah, nice. No, that's a very good strategy, especially just to get yourself off the ground, get your foot in the door, and because lots of
I,
conversation, lots of projects to work on.
yeah,
And then
yeah, absolutely.
the evolution. What year was it you started to hire?
So 2021, so just 4 years ago, I hired my first employee. A few months, someone to help me like on the business side. A few months later, I hired my first engineer. The real pivotal like moment of me converting the business from like a one person consultancy to an actual tech play was I had, believe it or not, in 2021, early 2021, I had two acquisition offers
Mhm.
to acquire my business, which was very confusing to me at the time because I still at that time, I didn't even call it like, even though it was Attitude, like the name was Jared, right? It was just
Mhm.
me. Everyone just knew it as Jared. I never really thought of my business as a business. I was just doing this for myself. So it was a little bit of a surprise for like, it was a VC firm and then another tech vendor that offered to acquire me. And um, had like a long conversation with a lot of friends and family in the space. And I got interesting advice from someone that I trust a lot who said you can either continue to do the exact same thing that you're doing and have a really nice lifestyle business, or you can pivot into a tech play and work your butt off and hope you can make more money one day, right? And he said, I recommend you keep it as a lifestyle business. And I said, cool, I'm going to go for the tech play.
Yeah.
So that's why I hired our CTO, first engineering hire, and really pivoted from a consulting business to a pure SaaS play.
Hmm. I like it. I like it. And was there a reason you didn't listen to your trusted
Yeah,
advisor's advice? Was there a chip on your shoulder of you had big goals, you just wanted to chase them, or was it
yeah, I think like I went to school, one of my majors was entrepreneurship. I always wanted to be my own boss. I always wanted to try to prove that I could do it on my own. I definitely had a big chip on my shoulder. One of the main reasons I started my company was not the manager that encouraged me to go out and consult, but my soon after that, my new manager basically said there's no way I was going to succeed.
mm,
And that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to prove this person wrong, right? And make it into something. But honestly, it was a piece of advice that I got from the same person, which is basically a consultancy is worth as much in terms of valuation as your annual revenue. Whereas a SaaS tech play, SaaS, like an actual technology business, has a big multiple,
mhm,
right? And so I was like thinking, okay, if I can somehow convert this business into a true SaaS business, I can take this from like $1 million business to something worth, a lot of money, and hopefully one day be able to retire.
mhm. Yeah. It sounds like you're chipping away at it.
Trying, I'm
And
trying.
in terms of growth, hired your first employee several years ago, but how many employees do you have now?
Yeah, so we're up to 63 or something employees. So started in 2021 hiring. We grew to 8 employees by 2023. At that point, we had close to a 5 million a year run rate. We raised capital in 2023, so we did a Series A
Mm,
fundraise, um, and used that money to hire more people, right? To do marketing and to make acquisitions. So, while we're 63 employees, a lot of those came through other acquisitions. So, I've acquired 2 other companies. So I think it's like core attitude business is only maybe 25, 30 people, and the rest are working on other parts of the business.
mm,
But yeah, we're at over 60 employees now, full executive team, VP level, director level, man. Like we have the true business, organization now. And we're a global company, which is also really cool. So we have employees in the US, Canada, South America, all over Europe as well.
mm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. You went from being the guy people approach to buy to the one doing the buying.
That's right.
And as you expand, you've obviously grown from your first hire to now 63 employees across multiple companies. Being the CEO, being the founder, one big thing we see companies as they scale, especially as quickly as you have, is struggling to maintain the culture, the work ethic. How have you gone about kind of instilling that and pushing it forward?
Sure. And we're no different there, right? Like every time we make a big acquisition or bring on new members of like upper leadership, that's a conversation that we have to have a lot of like, how do we make sure people that we bring on fit into that culture? The reason Attitude was successful early on and is still successful is like we have a bunch of like very scrappy, hungry, want to work their butt off employees because they all kind of have chips on their shoulder. We hire a lot of people that have been told they couldn't do it, right? From employers or whatever it may be, right? And so the way that we've tried to maintain culture is through two things. One, we are very deliberate with hiring. Getting hired at this company means that you've gone through many rounds of interviews. If you're interviewing an engineer, you still interviewed with the CFO and with me and with our ad team, right? If you're on the ad side, you're still meeting with the director of engineering and things like that, right? Because we need to make sure that everyone signs off. You have to go through like exams and stuff like that as well to prove that like you really know what you're talking about. And then the second thing that we do beyond being like super deliberate, only hiring the people that we are confident will fit in and when we need to hire, right? Is we do a lot of like team meetups. So even though we're a global company, we're 100% remote. We have no offices. We get together a lot, right? Even if it means individual departments. So in 4 weeks, I have the entire leadership team flying to Houston, where I live, and we're going to do our budget planning in person for next year, because why not, right? A few months ago, we flew to Disney World for a week to
Mhm.
spend time together and things like that. And the reason we do a lot of that is it's important for like each person at each level of the company to see the energy and the enthusiasm that everyone else has at this company, and also the dedication, right? And so it becomes contagious. We do these trips together. Everyone's super jazzed to be there and excited to see everyone, right? You build stronger friendships. And when you are friends with people and you're like in it, and it's kind of a ride or die kind of situation, right? Like you're willing to work harder because you know that the people next to you are also working that hard.
Mhm. Massive. And I think I come from a background in sports. I think there's team cultures and then there's championship cultures, and there's a
Yeah.
big difference between the two. And it sounds like even just the extra mile of doing as many in-person events as you can, it's
Yep.
creating a very strong culture for yourself.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, we love hiring former athletes
Hmm.
for that exact reason. And that, like, we have a lot of D1 athletes in our company. Not me, but we have a lot of D1 athletes in our company because they're used to being pushed harder, right,
Hmm.
by coaches. They're used to setting their own like level of expectation, right? They're used to holding themselves accountable. And so a lot of our employees, even at the more senior level, came to us with zero experience, but the right attitude. That's the name, attitude.
Hmm.
But the right attitude. And we can kind of train on the knowledge of our industry, but you can't train that kind of personality, right? And
Hmm.
so that just goes back to like, we're very deliberate with our.
Yeah, I like it. And that's kind of the same mindset I have over here is we can teach skills, we can train skills, we can coach skills, but we can't coach work ethic and the
Right.
intangibles that somebody can bring. That's just
Right.
distilled in you and how bad you actually want to do something.
Right. Exactly.
And Jared, switching lanes here a little bit, but it is intertwined. Obviously, culture makes a massive thing when growing a business, but so does tech. And that's
Yep.
obviously a big piece of your business. Over the past 8 years since you've started Attitude, there's been externally a ton of big tech changes, big tech trends.
Right.
Today, AI is one of them. How are you looking at that landscape? Is it a opportunity? Is it a threat? Is it a challenge? How have you kind of navigated it so far?
In most cases, we look at any like radical changes in our business as an opportunity to be the first mover, right? So AI is one, shifts in like Google as it relates to like government lawsuits and stuff is another. With AI, um, we've looked at it probably in a very different way than a lot of other companies have. A lot of other companies are looking at AI saying, like, we're going to build our entire business model around some machine doing all the work for us, where we're looking at it and saying, what are all the things that we are doing every day that can just be automated?
Hmm.
Right. And so for us, like what makes our company successful is all of our employees' brains, right? And so we don't want to take away from any of that. But we want them to focus on the things that we want to focus on,
Hmm.
right? So when we look at the 100 tasks that we have to do every single day, if 10 of them are actually moving our business forward and 90 are just necessities, how do we use AI to just automate those 90% of the tasks and free our time up to focus on more important things, right? And so we do have an AI department, and we do a lot of stuff around like machine learning and trying to understand the data that we're collecting just to make smarter decisions in terms of what ads to show and things like that. Stuff that we're already doing on a very manual, analytical way. How do we just like take our algorithms that we have in our brains and just transfer them into some piece of tech, right? Um, there's honestly like in online advertising, there's probably an infinite number of ways that you can integrate AI, but I think we're looking at it in a slightly different way than some of our competitors or just other companies in the space. And then whenever we see like a major shift in the industry, uh, so a big player shuts down or more recently, the U.S. government says Google has a monopoly and things like that. We look at it as like an opportunity to pounce,
Mm,
right? So how do we build products that websites that publishers are going to need when these major changes actually come to fruition, right?
mm,
So if a major company says, "Hey, we're shutting down," and this has happened a few times in the last few years, where like major advertising platforms have shut down due to bankruptcy or whatever it may be. Cool. When that happens 6 months from now, and people really feel the impact of that, what are they going to be looking for? What's the replacement for that piece of tech, right? And like, let's build it right now and start offering it to publishers for free to get them hooked on our stuff, right?
mm,
With Google being kind of split up, cool. That means that publishers are not going to be using Google as an ad server in the future. How does Aditude build the first non-Google ad server, right? And so we built that product and we launched it. And so for the most part, we look at it as an opportunity. And when there are major players that come into our space and start competing with us, right? It's the same thing. Well, then why don't we have a relationship with that major player, right?
mm,
Don't look at them as a competitor. Maybe we can be helping them, right? How do we
mm.
turn them into a client? And so, again, I think we have a little bit of a fresh take on all of those different situations that come up of can't look at everything as a challenge. You got to look at it as an opportunity. Otherwise, you'll probably go crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, I like it. And is that what you spend most of your day-to-day doing now, is looking at the strategy behind the business? Have you built it in a way that allows you to do that? Or are you still taking care of some of those tasks that we mentioned?
I built in a way that would allow me to do that. This is the long answer. But I love doing the day-to-day stuff, so I
Mm,
don't get at it, if that makes sense.
mhm,
I'm still working with our engineering and ops teams, joining all of our daily stand-ups, helping prioritize tickets, talking to clients, and figuring out like, okay, what features do we have to add to our products and stuff like that. But like, if there's an emergency code release that has to go out at 3 a.m. on a Saturday, I'm happy to hop on and start working on it because I actually enjoy this stuff. Obviously, I spend a lot more time now than I did years ago thinking about M&A and raising capital and all this other stuff. I have 63 employees. That's a lot of work just to maintain that many employees from an HR perspective and so forth. But I still spend at least 50% of my time just doing like the day to day in the weeds kind of work, more so by choice than necessity.
yeah, and it sounds like when it's by choice, you've built in the right way. You know, I've learned from this discussion that it sounds like from 8 years ago to now, you've made a lot of progress, and it sounds like it's not gonna slow down anytime soon.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, of course, knock on wood. But Jared, we've talked a lot about the company so far. I've got one question for you before we wrap up.
Okay.
If there was one thing you wish you learned a little earlier in your career, whether that be as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a business leader, or even a strategist building a business, what
Sure.
would that one lesson be?
One. Okay. I have one lesson and I have one regret. So I'll give you both answers. How about that?
I
All
like
right.
it.
The one lesson is don't be afraid to hire.
Hmm,
So the reason I only had 8 employees by the time I raised my Series A and we were a big company and we were bursting at the seams then. Right? Like we were working our absolute butts off. Was because I was so nervous that like if we failed or if something bad happened, I'm now responsible for someone else's salary, right? Or their livelihood. And that is obviously as an entrepreneur and as a founder, like that's a really scary like thought to have in the back of your head. But had I hired sooner, I'd be way further along than I am now, right?
hmm,
It basically, if I had for 6 years, it was me up to 8 people. That was it. Like that's how
hmm,
slowly I grew, right? And then from that moment, obviously we've exploded because I started hiring and growing
hmm,
the business. Biggest regret is sort of in the same line. I wish I just started the business sooner. Like I started consulting in 2017. I should have just gone full time in 2017 and taken the risk. I talked to a lot of like friends and just like curious people in the industry, and that like they're thinking about starting their own business. And my only piece of advice is don't wait for the right time. Just do it right now,
hmm,
right? Because you're gonna regret it. 3 months you're gonna regret that you haven't done it yet. So
hmm. Yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect time. If you keep waiting for one, it just keeps adding years, decades. Yeah. Awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing that, Jared. And I lied on the last one. I've got one more question for you. You've shared your experience about what you've built so far. Looking forward, what's the goals for Attitude? What are you building towards now?
Yeah, I think we're going to continue going down a similar path of building out more tech in house. Everything that we do, we own and operate right now, but um, building out more tech, especially on the analytics side of the space. There's a lot of like over investment in serving ads and a lot of under investment in understanding what those ads are. So super interested on the analytics side. And then, I'm hungry, so I'm going to keep trying to acquire more companies and grow the business both organically and inorganically. I've got a lot of big plans, so hopefully in the next few months, you guys read some cool stuff about us. But anyways, not slowing down. I'll say that.
Yeah, awesome. That's what we love to hear. And I'm sure the audience, if they've listened up to this point, they'd love to keep in touch with you. I'll be sure to
Sure.
tag Attitude's website and your LinkedIn down below. But is there anywhere else you're active on, or are those the main two?
Uh, Pretty much that. There's a bunch of Slack channels in online advertising. Believe it or not, that I'm pretty active in.
Mm.
So there's a Reddit for Slack ad ops. Uh, so if you are in the online advertising industry and you want to connect with me, you can find me there.
Yeah, sweet. I'll ask you for the link after, and then I'll link all that down in the description. But for everybody tuning in, thank you for taking the time to listen. We appreciate it. And Jared, one last thank you for taking the time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a blast. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.